I'm sitting here with Sofia Sundari, an international Tantra teacher who is really traveling the world to teach many people about Tantra, Taoism, shamanism, and who also is very active online. You can look her up. She does online courses, for example, Yoni Yoga, and also often like free webinars and free videos, so check out her content. So I wanted to talk to you about the topic of fulfilling sexuality. So I've noticed that in the scientific literature there's very little research on how people can actually live like a fulfilling, a positive sex life. So there's stuff about how to deal with disorders, like for example erectile dysfunction, or like let's say problems. But there's not so much on how can you actually improve it, make it more beautiful, nicer. And I was thinking you might actually have to add something to this topic.
Yes, I'm happy to.
Yeah, thank you very much for taking the time, first of all. So, yeah, what would you tell? Let's say there's a couple who is kind of experiencing a bit of boredom in the bedroom and feel like they're not really connecting or something. Do you think with your teachings or with Tantra you could contribute to the happiness in this couple in some way?
Yeah, so I find that number one, really the core issue of why our sexuality is not working is because we are not really present in the act of lovemaking. We are not really conscious. We just do it mechanically because that's what you do. Like you are dating someone, you get intimate and then you just make love. Like that's what you do. And oftentimes it becomes like a masturbation inside of each other, or using each other for a masturbation instead of just really exploring the depth of intimacy which sexuality is there for. Because ultimately we want to make love not for the sake of making love, but for the sake of building a deep intimacy, a profound connection, heart-opening experiences. So number one thing, and that's actually perhaps the most advanced thing there is, because to really master it, it's incredible. It affects our whole being and our whole life. To really, develop the capacity for ourselves to really be there for each other, be there fully, connect deeply, reveal the heart, just really fully open, become fully transparent, fully available for each other and for this experience. And I find that this is really the key.
And in practice, how would I do that, being fully present? And
so this is where there are lots of tools and techniques from Tantra and from other traditions that explore sexuality in depth. There are different tools that we can implement, like, for example, just using the breath, using the eye gazing, taking some moments where we slow down, because we live in the world which is obsessed with getting things done, with rushing into things, with like really creating experiences. We're looking for experiences, we're looking for some, stimulation. So the invitation is to slow down, slow down everything, and then, use the tools. For example, the breath, like for example, a powerful practice, very simple, but so powerful, where you just hold each other and you synchronize your breath.
Okay.
And you just breathe in that way. And there are different ways to, different breathing techniques, but this is so powerful, where you just slow down and you look into each other's eyes and you just don't move for some time. Maybe, and sometime, maybe spend like 5-10 minutes in that embrace, just holding each other, just connecting, just being there for each other. And see what happens, because this is a recipe for magic, really.
Okay. One thought I just had was maybe this sounds a bit like, okay, this could be nice for the woman, but is it also nice for the man? Because men are maybe...
Well, in reality, we all have the feminine and masculine inside of us. So we all have the part of us which just likes to get things done, which is normally referred to as the masculine. And the one that is achieving, and the one that is really going for goals and creating things in life and putting yourself, like manifesting things in the world, let's say. But we also all have that part of us that just yearns for intimacy, that yearns for connection, that just yearns to take a moment to slow down and to meet and connect. And that's the feminine in us. So we can, name it like this or not, doesn't matter, but we all have that part within us. So for that part in a man, this part will be very happy. This part will be very, very fulfilled and happy. And of course, initially there might be a little bit of resistance, like, because it's like, wow, it's not what I've been doing all my life, right? No
Yeah.
one taught me those things.
Yeah.
No one really speaks about those things.
Mhm.
There's not enough sexual education out there, actually.
Mhm.
You know, and even out of that sexual education, which is not available for everyone, but even those people who go into that sexual education, all they learn is, you know, just maybe how to improve performance, some, you know, ideas, tools, techniques, which are good, but if they're not leading us to deeper presence, we're never going to be fulfilled sexually.
Yeah. So your courses are not at all just about learning how to use your fingers or whatever, right? They,
Well, I mean, we definitely can learn things about ourselves. Like, and first and foremost, I find that in sexuality, we don't need to rely on the partner to help us be fulfilled. You know, because ultimately we are not looking for someone to come and to press on spots and to, you know, activate us in this way or another. Actually, the only thing which will ever fulfill us is where we really feel fulfilled inside, no matter what is going on outside, no matter if we even have a partner or not.
Mhm.
So, first and foremost, it's really coming to that connection with yourself and knowing that you are the one responsible for your pleasure.
So you're saying if I'm single and I don't ever have sex, I could still live a fulfilling sexuality?
Yes,
How do I do that?
Exactly. You connect with your sexual energy ongoing. This is what I'm actually teaching a lot in my courses, where it's like sexual energy is so beautiful, it's so powerful, it's what created us. We wouldn't be here sitting talking if not for sexual energy.
That's true.
So I find that finding that source of sexuality within us and knowing that it's not about how sexy we feel or, you know, how attractive even we feel, but it's just about, you know, dropping and connecting with that most powerful force there is on this planet. And it's available within us.
Yeah. Do you think because it's so powerful, it's also so scary for many people, and is that why it's being suppressed so much?
Yeah, I believe that, you know, and there are layers and layers, so we can find layers of shame, we find layers of guilt, and, you know, all this needs to be addressed and worked through, looked at, healed.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I believe that we're scared of the power. For example, in Taoism, the practices that are there available, you know, that teaches people how to move sexual energy, you know, how not only to connect with it, but how to actually move it and how to direct it to expansion of our consciousness, because that's what we can use it for. And within those practices, they were not available for normal people for many, many years, for centuries.
That's so exciting about it. So no.
And I find that it was not available because actually it's not really, you know, promoted in society to have people all being powerful. You know, you want just to select a few to be powerful so that they can control others.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that there's a huge power in that, like coming into your sexuality, being in line with it, owning it, not being ashamed of it. And yeah, so one thing you also teach a lot about is orgasms. So you give a course, I think, also in June, right, in the Netherlands, Liberation into Orgasm. So what can we imagine here? How can you be liberated into orgasm?
Yeah, interesting thing is that you can have an amazing orgasmic experience being fully dressed and being by yourself.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. And I mean, of course, it gets amplified when you're with another person and you have a certain chemistry between you and you really, you know, also like activate something within each other. Of course, it adds to the fire of it. Of course, if you include more sensuality and touch and, you know, body-to-body contact, of course it amplifies. Or even if you are just touching yourself just on your body, of course it will amplify. But it's not a must. I had, you know, sometimes rooms of more than 100 people being in an orgasm, and everyone just standing there by themselves, being fully dressed, and just going into breathing practices, going into practices of moving, activating the body, activating our erotic flow.
Nice.
And it's actually incredibly fascinating how simple it is, and how natural it is. You know, when you really open up into that orgasmicness, you see that actually, you know, perhaps we could be in a constant state of orgasm if we were not blocking it.
Yeah.
You know, oftentimes I find that we're just constantly blocking because we have tension here, tension there, tension in the mind, you know, ideas of how it is socially appropriate to show up and things like this. But actually, like, there's so much beauty, so much juice, so much aliveness within us. And this is what eroticism really is. It's that degree of aliveness. And this is what orgasm really is that ultimately it's a state of connectedness.
Okay. Connectedness, like with everything, you mean, not just
connectedness with life, like where you just feel this connection. And of course, the partner can be an amazing portal to that, but it doesn't have to be. And that's where we become fulfilled, actually, where we stop giving away our power and relying on the partner to produce some outcome for us.
Okay. And in the case of men, I don't know, you also teach that for men? So obviously there's often this idea in Tantra, etc., not to ejaculate, right? So is that something you would recommend, and why?
Yeah, non-ejaculation is a practice that's very commonly invited by tantric practitioners or Taoism practitioners, and sometimes it's referred to as ejaculatory control. So you control, you know, when to ejaculate. I don't like to use it so much. I don't like to use the word control because we don't want to be controlling life, but we want to master it.
Yeah.
So ejaculation mastery, it means that you are fully responsible in how you move your sexual energy. So when you want to ejaculate, when you choose to ejaculate, then you can do it. But there are multiple benefits of non-ejaculating, and even when ejaculation happens, there's also a way to do it in a very beautiful way. But when we speak about non-ejaculating, what happens there is that we choose to contain the sacredness of life. Because the sperm is nothing but the seed of life, right? It can create a whole human being, right? So it's incredibly sacred, and Tantra is that spiritual path or that life philosophy that recognizes life as something very sacred. It sees divinity in life, you know. So when we have that attitude, then the sperm will be considered as something very, very sacred, and you don't want to just spill it. You understand that in just 1 tablespoon of sperm, there is like 1.2 billion sperm cells. So imagine it, it's a lot of people. So, you know, it's a lot of life. So that's why it's invited not to just spill it unconsciously, but treat it more like liquid gold, something that's so, so precious. So you choose to contain it, and actually as you contain it, you really bring it upwards. So what you do is, like, there's this technique in Taoism called upward draw or sublimation in Tantra, where you contain it, and you, instead of wasting that energy, you actually, through transmutation, and this is also what Tantra teaches us, that we can transmute the energy. So we can transmute it and take it in and spread it and use it for expansion of our consciousness, for opening of our heart, for developing more clarity in life, and for rising our vibration, you know, because we are energetic beings, so we all have a certain vibration to us. So then we can really activate ourselves and transform ourselves into like the superhumans, actually.
Oh. So how can I imagine this expansion of consciousness?
How can you imagine? Like, what is it?
What's if I have an orgasm with a very expanded consciousness, like I don't know, a certain experience? How would you describe the state?
Well, it's not only a state. Yes, you will have a state which actually is so incredible, because imagine it's the most powerful thing there is, sexual energy. It's what created us. Yeah, it's what moves us. It's like that sexual energy is so, so strong. So when you use that and you really consciously channel it and activate it within you, what it can create in your consciousness is way bigger than what alcohol or drugs could ever do. Yeah, so it's like you can definitely experience those states of just this expanded being, of this, like, whoa, when you really feel like you're becoming so big, you know, and much bigger than your body, much bigger than whatever you have ever identified with. But what is even more important than those states, those orgasmic states, those expanded states, is that you cultivate it in your life. And then you start to see that your standpoint in life shifts. that you stop relating with life from the place of your wounds, or from the place of, not trusting life or needing something from life or from other people. You expand your standpoint, your consciousness becomes vaster, so you can hold a lot more power.
Nice, thank you. Okay, maybe one last direction I want to explore is different types of orgasms. Like in the scientific literature around women, there is this discussion like vaginal and clitoral orgasms. Like, does the vaginal orgasm even exist? So would you say there are different types of orgasms now in the case of women in particular? Or
Yes, well, first of all, vaginal orgasm definitely exists. Definitely. And yes, we can classify orgasms. So there are different orgasms that like they start and from like they are created from different type of stimulation. For example, there can be orgasm that comes from the walls of the vagina, called the G-spot orgasm, or from the cervix, the neck of the uterus. It also has a potential for incredibly powerful orgasms. It's full of nerval endings, and once the woman does the work on activating her vagina, she becomes really alive and awake, and even we awaken the neurological pathways which can be dormant when we don't access those parts of us. So when we activate that, so normally most women are familiar with clitoral orgasm, and that's only one form of orgasm. So there is a lot more, and not only vaginal, there's also anal orgasm. There's also orgasm that happens through your whole body.
Yeah.
And
they can go on for longer.
Exactly. Those orgasms, they go on way longer, and they are a lot more satisfying, because they touch not only our body and just momentary release and pleasure, but they touch our heart, they touch our being, they can create an emotional expansion, emotional release. And like more than anything, most importantly, just that state of connectedness.
Do you think that some women do already experience whole body orgasms without kind of knowing it, like without saying it's an orgasm, because they think the clitoral one?
Yes. There is actually such thing. Like some women, actually, for them it's easier to experience a full body orgasm. Like it's just natural for them, and they might not identify it. They just feel like, oh, it's just rush of energy through my system. So when we even name those things and become aware of them, then it actually happened to me quite a few times. Like I would tell those things like, yes, you can orgasm vaginally, yes, you can orgasm with the whole body, and then it's like the next day it's like, oh yes, I had it,
Yeah.
Like, some people just need the permission and just the awareness that it's possible, and then you just feel what is actually happening. Because as we start, from speaking about the presence, like that we are normally just not there. We're making love, and it's like just a mechanical thing that's happening. Sometimes even it's said that 30% of women experience pain when they are going into penetration. So it's like many people, they're just like, oh, I just wait until it finishes and I'm done.
Yeah.
And I continue with my thing. In this case, there can be no orgasm.
Yeah.
There can be no pleasure. So such an important moment is to make sure that there is a yes in our body, that there is a willingness, there is a real desire to go there, that we are ready. And for women and men, it's very different. And we need to honor both to have a fulfilling sexual experience. We need to honor that he is, willing to go there and ready, and also that she, because she takes longer to warm up. Women are wired differently. We really need to make sure that our whole body is activated, that our heart, our breasts are activated. And then, only then she is ready to go into vaginal penetration.
Yeah.
And then when we are there, when we're fully open, we are really there, then we can really start to feel like, oh yeah, that's actually, something magical is happening, something profound.
Yeah, I think that was still a very important point, that we really feel into ourselves what we want, what we need, and we dare to say, okay, I want to wait. Also for men, I guess, maybe the same for men sometimes.
Definitely, exactly.
And not just go along with what is expected from us in a certain moment. Yeah.
Yes, same for men, actually, I have to say, because many men are stuck in this idea of performance. They feel like they have to show up for a woman, they have to perform for her, they have to take her. But oftentimes it's not what you really want, or not what you're really experiencing. So you know, understanding what we want, what we need, it's also a key for fulfilling sexuality,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, that was a nice word for the end. So thank you very much for talking to me.
Welcome, it's a pleasure.
And hope you enjoyed it. Check out her website and her courses, sofiasundari.com, right?
Yeah.
And any final advice you want to give people, or any final word?
Well, sexuality is yours and it's for you to enjoy. So don't wait for someone to show up in your life and awaken something in you, to awaken your orgasmicness and your sexuality, but just dare to claim it as yours. Dare to claim your pleasure and love your body, because it's there for you to enjoy.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks for watching.